So now the season appears bleak for many Nigerians, especially those in the northeast, whose daily struggle is staying alive in the face of growing insecurity. Now, over 300 boys remain missing in Katsina state, and parents still have no answers as to when they will safely return home. Latest intelligence reveals that they have been split in 3 groups and are being kept in different locations between the Rugu forest and Yankuza areas of the state. Meanwhile, security operatives are gearing up to kickstart the rescue mission as they get a clearer picture of the locations of the boys and the groups involved. Joining me in the studio is security consultant Darlington Umoru and a public affairs analyst, Gbolauba. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. It's been a really saddening incident for a lot of Nigerians. This incident has left a bad taste in their mouths. For them, they say, like Dapchi, like Chibok, and now we have Kankara in going down history as being another case where a number of students have been abducted. And the question is, what really is at the heart of this continuous abduction of students from schools? Because after that incident of Chibok, we had the Safe Schools initiative, which a lot of persons felt would address the incident, but yet we kept seeing this reoccurring. I'll start with you, Darlington.
Well, it's a sad one for me, like I said yesterday on another television station. It's a sad one for the nation as well. I think the federal government is yet to find a solution to the large-scale insecurities problems we're having now. I wouldn't want to say they have been overwhelmed, but I think that both terrorists, bandits, they all have their strategies. They also need men and women, and the soft target for them has been schools. Don't forget that at a point in time, even the police college was attacked,
yes, and
many were carted away. One challenge I have is that the security agents should have had an idea about what was going to happen in Kankara.
Intelligence report.
Yes. I say that because, for instance, Mr. President also visited Daura from Abuja. That's on Friday.
Right.
And usually, if the president is visiting any state, there are supposed to be advanced parties that are supposed to give intelligence reports concerning that area and all of that, particularly when they have to provide security for Mr. President. Was it coincidental that this happened the same day? Mr. President arrived around on Friday. These boys were taken away on Friday. The large number of persons taken away from that school, the government science secondary school, the number was so large that it wasn't an operation that could have just lasted for 10 minutes. So where were the security people?
And they came in motorbikes.
That's what we were told. But motorbikes to ferry away 520 persons. If you put 520 persons in your premises, you'll feel it.
Of course.
You'll feel the weight of 520 persons. The federal government denied that. They told us that it was 10. The state governor said they were 333. But the account of one of the students is the one I want to go with, because he said he was there and they had a head count. Head count meant that they counted all of them where they were assembled, one after the other, when they were taken to the next village from where we were told that motorbikes ferried them away. Motorbikes for that large number. Now the security agents told us that they've identified the location where these children were being kept. This must not happen the same way we had the case of the Chibok girls. The Chibok girls, you remember, were kept somewhere, nothing happened, until they were eventually moved onto the forest. And then at the end of the day, what did we have?
Right.
The case of the Dapchi girls, you remember that?
Of course.
Of course, government had to go into negotiation to have them back.
What they have been talking about.
Don't forget, please, that even when the security agents tell you that they've identified the location where these children are, they can't swoop in like that.
Really?
Yes, there will be casualties because the essence is this. The terrorists will want to use them as shields first.
Okay.
Of course, they know that you cannot just mobilize your arms there to attack.
Okay.
If you do that, you'll be hitting some of the children. Are we ready for that now?
Okay.
Okay? So the situation on hand is a very delicate one. And I think if they've actually been able to identify these locations, they should find a way of barricading that area, ensuring that these children are not further moved away. Do we have drones monitoring that place now, giving reports, giving intelligent reports? Do we have those drones? Do we have the unmanned vehicles that are supposed to be hovering around that area, giving situational reports about what is happening in that camp? Are we exploring all of this? Is the Air Force using its helicopters?
Now, these are the questions that need to be answered.
I expected you to answer them.
I am not. I'm not part of them. I'm not part of the security operatives, taking care of this situation. But then we need to move over to Bola Oba and feel his pulse with regards to this issue. Now, when Boko Haram began, the issue for them was, as it is said, they were against Western education. And with the numbers of students that we have seen, we already know that that region has had a case of a number of out-of-school children, and this is happening again. And then there are the states who have closed down schools again now. Now, the issue for some persons is that perhaps Boko Haram is succeeding at bringing an end or halting Western education in the north.
Ostensibly, it seems so. Why am I saying it seems so? As we speak, Jigawa, Zamfara, and Kano states yesterday have closed schools. And you must remember that we are in a vicious cycle.
Right.
And the vicious cycle is nurtured especially by the left behind human elements. And when I say the left behind human elements, I mean those who were largely not well schooled, those who were denied the opportunities of human capital development, but who have pairs of hands. And you know what? An ideologue recruiting for Boko Haram could just pervert a good religion to them and recruit them. And you know what? What is happening now, the trend that we've seen since this unfortunate incident from Jigawa to Zamfara to Kano will further nurture this virtuous cycle. Because when you close schools, not only in the north, it's been a well-researched documentation by United Nations has come to the conclusion that when you close schools in the Sahel, when you close schools, girls marry early. Mm-hmm. Students or pupils lack, because many of these pupils come from indigent homes.
Absolutely.
And they get to eat what is akin to a reasonable diet once a day at school. Mm. So you having pronounced case of disturbance in the human capital development chain. You will be having cases of parents who are distraught and disillusioned, don't know what to do with kids, especially girls, pushing them into early marriage. You having girls pushed into early marriage naturally, going into procreation early in their lives. You having children born out of a system that can take care of their development. And you know what? As we speak, we have 15 million 15 million young Nigerians, largely in the northern part of Nigeria, who are out of school. You're telling me that Boko Haram will not be getting a good supply of hands for the next 2 generations?
So this is a way of recruiting these people.
It's inevitable. We are playing to the game. We are playing to the game of the enemy because of lack of competent leadership. Mark you, whenever I come here, I celebrate an average Nigerian soldier. I celebrate an average Nigerian policeman. They are being failed, not because they lack courage, not because they are stupid. They are just being failed by leadership, military and political. These people are heroes. Look, somebody is publicly alleging that in the name of the Nigerian army, we don't know how far it's true, that in the name of the Nigerian army, the political leadership in Katsina has taken, in the last 6 months, more than 2 billion naira out of the coffers of the state. More than 2 billion in the name of the Nigerian army. And yet, if you go and examine the condition of an average soldier functioning in that theater, you will know that they have not spent anything that much on this set of people.
But then the question is, how do we tackle this leadership issue? Because what you see people coming up with is, let us perhaps change the service chiefs, let us rejig the system, the security architecture. Is that going to address this issue that you have mentioned in terms of driving new leadership that will ensure that these people perform their roles optimally?
I think it's about time we told ourselves the raw, brutal truth. The commander-in-chief is tired.
How so?
Intellectually, mentally. The commander-in-chief himself. So change chiefs of staff. Change them as much as you... Look, the gentleman who is a security expert was just talking to you now, and he was mentioning drones. He was mentioning unmanned vehicles. These are state-of-the-art contraptions with which such wars or such incidents are tackled. We are fighting at the level of Boko Haram. And you know what? They have conditioned themselves to living like animals because they are animals anyway. But do we have to subject an average soldier, volunteer soldier, not conscripted? Do we have to subject him to the same indignities without aiding? He just mentioned it. He's an expert. And he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
And to be honest with you, for those of us who even read about war situations across the world, we know that the mechanisms of war have gone beyond what we ostensibly see as the facility for our army.
But then some will tell you that we have been, budgeting monies to say that we are trying to address these issues that he has pointed out. So what really is the problem then, if we have been budgeting monies once?
You don't even go there. The last time we discussed the police, if you remember,
yes.
I asked a question. The average policeman buys his uniform.
Yes,
He buys his boots. This is a security agent. Now there's a budget for the police every year, annually. And beyond the annual budget that comes from the federal government, the police also makes money from the Special Protection Unit, the SPUs. That's a department or unit that provides personal security to captains of industries, the VIPs, the VVIPs. Okay, for instance, banks and all of that, they pay some money. And I also, I did mention here some other time that a certain senator who was also a police officer at a point in time, had a quagmire with the IG at that time, demanding for accountability of the monies that comes from the SPU. Go speak with the average policeman on the street, you weep for him, and then you weep for this nation. He said something very vital, and within me, I started bleeding in my heart. The average Nigerian soldier, I want to agree with him, is a hero. But have you given him the right modalities to work? Have you given him the right equipment to function? The military is in three arms. You have the Army, you have the Navy, and you also have the Air Force. They perform operations at different levels in different spheres. You're talking about budget, my dear sister. There are things apparently that are obvious that we shouldn't even be discussing. There's a budget for the military annually. Isn't that true?
Of course.
There are also, part of this budget is to acquire arms and ammunition. I just talked about the use of drones and unmanned vehicles right now. Wars of today have gone beyond the conventional technique. Intelligence gathering has gone beyond the conventional method.
Technology has been introduced.
Technology has been introduced. Have you adapted them?
That is the question.
If you have a budget, what are your budgets supposed? Look, any warfare is 60% won through intelligence reports. If your intelligence reports are right, you'll be proactive. You will not be reactive at all the times. I asked a question. I said, particularly when Mr. President was visiting Katsina State, there should have been, or normally, there should have been, or there was, advanced security parties to Katsina State to look at the areas and then give intelligence reports. Please, let me not digress. If you're talking about budget for the military, how reflective has that been on the average soldier? The average soldier was not conscripted. He volunteered to serve this nation.
All right.
And then if you don't give him the right equipment to work, and where is he supposed to get the right equipment from? From the leadership. The leadership is supposed to provide the funding. And then the leadership is also supposed to provide the training for the man to be able to function. And those of them in the theater at the moment, it is just that there are certain things we can't not say on air. Some of them apparently are not supposed to speak, aside from the public relations officer. But if they tell you what they face, these are people who don't live or sleep under any roof in the Sambisa forest. Now, how much of their morale do you boost? Aside from boosting their morale, because if the morale of the man who is going to fight, or even perform in even any competition is low, you will not get results.
All right, so as not to digress from the issues at hand and the focus for the day because of time, as it is now, the location where the children are has been found.
So we have been told.
So we have been told. Okay, very important. We have to make that clear. If they are to get the children out, what should be done? Because you said there could be casualties. They can't just swoop in like that.
Yes.
What should be done?
Yes, there are things we cannot say on air, particularly when it comes to military strategies in terms of operations. Right now, apparently when there are issues like this, they go back to the drawing board. And then they look at it from the point of intelligence, and then strategically they begin to fashion out modalities on how they will take on these persons. Don't forget that I said that sometimes one of the issues we had in the past with Boko Haram, particularly when large number of children are taken away in this magnitude, even when the locations were identified, it was utmost difficult for them to just sweep in. They take their time, they map out the strategy, they want to know who and who is there, and then they want to know how to take out those persons, the enemies, and then they want to ensure that there's no casualty on the side of the children. Because, for instance, of what use will it be when you say, okay, these children are here, these same men are here, then you just swoop in and then you attack. It's going to be fire for fire, and then,
so
God forbid.
What do you see happening at the end of the day? A dialogue?
Well, if I have to advise the government at this time, the Dapchi tactic worked.
Okay.
that particular ideal they used in when the Dapchi girls were taken away, aside from Leah Shiaibu, who held on to her faith, I think she's still the only one that was not returned. All other person came back through Mama Boko Haram. Remember her?
Yes.
She was the lady that mediated, one of those who actually mediated between the federal government and the breakaway faction from Shekau,
yes,
who actually said, okay, allow me handle them.
All right.
And then we got the result. But although federal government told us they didn't pay any ransom to get those children out, but what we heard allegedly later on was that federal government made some payment. America will always deceive you to say they don't negotiate with terrorists.
Okay.
But what
Because
happened in the case of Sergeant Bo,
okay,
where 5 deadly Talibans were exchanged? So we need to dialogue.
I need to get Bala Abbas' final word on this, because the Safe Schools Initiative, a lot of talks about bringing it back to ensure safety of schools, because teachers are threatening a strike and all of that. I wonder if you see that working moving forward to addressing these issues of kidnapping.
The Safe School Initiative is a laudable initiative that came into being after the Chibok, the Chibok madness.
Yes, yes.
And it's basically meant to make sure that educational, especially primary and secondary educational institutions, indeed, tertiary educational institution, you must remember that the University of Maiduguri was said to have been fenced, yes, with some billions of naira. It would be to protect them and make sure that the security infrastructure is adequate to protect children and students in school. The truth is that you have a police force that is grossly under personnel. All right. 400,000, okay, and about 400,000 to 200 million people. The number of schools, the geographical spread of the schools, you have a military that is overstretched, especially the army. The army is now doing internal security operations. So
will the Safe Schools Initiative bring about it if we are to
revisit it? It's a laudable initiative for us to all chase. But okay, I don't see political leadership again.
All right.
Doing the right thing.
We have to leave
the fact that we are ending. It's sad, but one can only smile it off.
No, it is sad. I mean, you're smiling, but what of the parents of these children?
Very important.
Are they smiling?
They are not.
We are parents, and this is a federal government school.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to leave the conversation here now. Darlington, gentlemen, we have to leave it. Want of time. Thank you so much for the conversation here this morning. All right, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our guests are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. That's all on TVC Breakfast this morning. Join us again for another edition tomorrow at 7 a.m. Do stay safe. Up next. It's your view.